Bottle episodes occupy an interesting place in the history of television, but what are they? In simple terms, a bottle episode is an inexpensively produced episode of a television series that's typically confined to a single location setting.
I hate bottle episodes. They're wall-to-wall facial expression and emotional nuance. I might as well sit in the corner with a bucket on my head.
Most of them only feature the show's core cast of characters, and their main purpose is to save money. The term bottle episode reportedly originated with Richard A. Justman, co-producer of the original Star Trek series. He referred to episodes that were contained within the ship as ship in a bottle episodes, and the term took on a life of its own after that. However, some scholars cite the Outer Limits producer Leslie Stevens as the coiner of the term. After making the episode Controlled Experiment for under $100,000 with a quick turnaround, Stevens likened it to pulling a genie out of a bottle. Regardless of which producer came up with the term, they both had the right idea. While bottle episodes are primarily produced to keep costs low, some creators view them as an opportunity to creatively challenge themselves. Some shows even set out to make them because they simply love the novelty of the concept. With this in mind, let's unscrew the proverbial cork and take a look at the very best ones.
Well, tell your disappointment to suck it. I'm doing a bottle episode.
Number 10. Firefly, Out of Gas. Joss Whedon's Firefly made a long-lasting impression on audiences during its tragically short run in the early 2000s, and episodes like Out of Gas are a prime example of why the show's cult fanbase continues to celebrate the space western years after its premature cancellation. The episode sees Captain Malcolm Reynolds facing an unfortunate predicament. His spaceship Serenity is almost out of gas, and oxygen supplies are running low. With the prospect of imminent death on the horizon, the captain wanders our corridors, reminiscing about the past. Out of Gas is essentially a story about how the gang came together. Covering 3 interwoven timelines, the episode uses flashback scenes to reveal how the crew were introduced to each other and how their relationships developed over time. However, the episode also focuses on the bond between Mal and the ship, serving as an ode to Serenity herself while highlighting her importance to the crew. Out of Gas uses the bottle concept to add more depth to the show's characters, and it's one of the series' standout moments. Number 9. Archer, Vision Quest. While animated shows are less restricted than live action fare when it comes to how many locations they can use, that hasn't stopped some of them from embracing the bottle episode format. Shows like Family Guy and Rick and Morty have experimented with these minimalist sensibilities to great effect, but Archer's Vision Quest is an all-timer. In Vision Quest, the show's main characters are restricted to a single elevator, which breaks down on their way to a meeting. As expected, it doesn't take too long for the gang to start bickering amongst themselves, causing hilarity to ensue.
Okay, let's just take it down a notch.
Get away from my rifle!
Guys, come on, knock it off,
Hey,
please.
easy! Hey,
Pam,
hey!
stop that.
Everybody calm.
Jokes are made, their dirty habits are revealed, the gun goes off, you get the idea. Vision Quest is a departure from the show's typical spy mission episodes and serves as a reminder that it's the characters who make the show work first and foremost. For 20 minutes, it brings their dysfunctional natures and flaws to the forefront with extremely entertaining results. Number 8. Breaking Bad, Fly. Being enclosed in a small space with a fly buzzing around is a surefire way to drive even the calmest mind to insanity. Of course, it's bound to cause more stress for those working in the meth business, especially when the insect in question could potentially contaminate the entire drug operation. Fly sees a sleep-deprived Walt determined to kill a fly that gets into his meth lab. The chemist refuses to cook the meth until the pest has been dealt with, while Jesse tries to get him back on track and focus on more pressing issues, like cooking drugs. If the episode reveals anything, it's that Walt and Jesse's personalities will always clash. Fly is probably the most polarising Breaking Bad episode. It doesn't feature any bombastic action sequences or move the plot forward at all, but it provides some fascinating insight into Walt and Jesse's characters, and how their differences, even over how to get rid of a fly, will always cause some conflict between them. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Duet. Star Trek Deep Space Nine boldly goes to some darker places than its predecessors. The show isn't as black and white in its depiction of good versus evil, especially when compared to the original series and The Next Generation, but the inclusion of more morally complex and darker storylines arguably makes for more interesting viewing. For an example of the series at its finest, look no further than Duet. The episode centres around an interrogation. When a Cardassian arrives on Deep Space Nine requiring medical attention, Major Kira is convinced that he's a genocidal war criminal and detains him for questioning. As the conversation progresses, some unexpected revelations are unearthed and big decisions are made. The interrogation scenes are enough to give you goosebumps, due in no small part to the terrific performances by Harris Yulin as the suspected criminal and Nana Visitor as his interrogator. Some critics have even compared the episode to Silence of the Lambs, as the exchange between Kira and the prisoner are reminiscent of Clarice probing Hannibal Lecter. Without getting into spoilers, the episode concludes with Kira realising that not all Cardassians are bad people, as she was conditioned to believe before. Duet examines topics such as genocide, imperialism, prejudice and guilt with a nuanced eye, and most Star Trek fans will attest to it being one of Deep Space Nine's strongest outings. Number 6. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Box. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one of the funnier detective shows in the history of the medium, but this episode marks a rare foray into more intense territory. Captain Raymond Holt and Detective Jake Peralta work on coaxing a confession out of a cunning dentist whom they suspect is guilty of killing his partner.
Look your dead friend in the eyes and say his name.
Robert.
Okay, maybe say his full name.
Robert Tupper.
His middle name's Henry.
Robert Henry Tupper.
His wife called him Rob. Work that in.
Rob Tupper.
Work it into the full name.
Robert Rob Henry Tupper.
Now say it with a frown on your face.
Robert Rob Henry Tupper.
Now try not to blink so tears come into your eyes.
Robert Rob Henry Tupper.
Man, this guy is a good murderer.
There's gotta be some way to break him.
With the clock ticking down, the detectives find themselves in a battle of wits with the suspect, while simultaneously confronting their own frustrations.
Yeah, I really gotta stop trying that. It never works.
The best bottle episodes reveal telling character moments, but the box scores extra points for its willingness to throw a spanner into Brooklyn Nine-Nine's rhythm. Sure, it contains several hilarious moments, but the box also works as an effective slice of police procedural storytelling that would still be captivating without the humour. Sterling K. Brown's performance as the suspect earned him an Emmy nomination, and deservedly so. He's fantastic as the seemingly impenetrable villain. However, Andre Braugher's performance also deserves some praise, as it's reminiscent of his outstanding turn in Homicide: Life on the Street, which conveniently brings us to our next entry.
Oh, damn!
Number 5. Homicide: Life on the Street. 3 Men and Adina. This next show was based on a book by The Wire's David Simon. Homicide: Life on the Street follows the Baltimore Homicide Department as they investigate murders in the city. One of the story arcs in the show's first season revolves around the death of an 11-year-old girl called Adina, and the investigation culminates in this anxiety-inducing episode that takes place in an interrogation room. Tensions rise as detectives Tim Bayliss and Frank Pembleton grill their chief suspect in a last-ditch attempt to get him to confess to the little girl's murder. They only have a few hours to get a confession before they're forced to abandon the case altogether, making for some high-stakes television. Number 4. The West Wing. 17 people. The West Wing was one of the biggest shows on television during the peak of its popularity. Aaron Sorkin's political drama had millions of viewers tuning in each week to see the latest developments in the White House, and the show will go down in history as a forerunner for the prestige TV boom that's commonplace today. The show's ambition commanded a hefty price tag though, and seasons had a tendency to go over budget. Therefore, some smaller episodes were essential for the West Wing's longevity, but Sorkin and his team thrived on the challenge of captivating viewers on the cheap. 17 People is perhaps the most notable example of how the show was able to creatively thrive with budgetary restrictions. The West Wing's best asset was always the dialogue, and in this episode words drive the plot. It's also a monumental episode as it's the one where Toby discovers that President Bartlett has MS and only 17 people in the world know the truth. This is a big revelation that plays a huge part in the show moving forward. Elsewhere, Sam and Josh write a speech for the correspondents' dinner, and party ideology is debated. 17 People is as intimate as a stage play, but it's just as riveting as the episodes that revolve around assassination attempts and terrorist plots. Number 3. Community. Cooperative calligraphy. Only Community could start an episode by poking fun at the conventions and trappings of bottle episodes, and then proceed to deliver one of the best of all time.
It's a bottle episode.
Cooperative calligraphy is structured almost like a murder mystery. Annie accuses someone of taking her pen, snaps, and it becomes a matter of principle as everyone fights to prove that they could not have been the one that took it. Infighting is nothing new to the Greendale 7, but this was the biggest group fight of all time as everyone began to point fingers and even hit the low point of tearing off Pierce's leg cast to see if he'd taken it.
Smells like a Waffle House sink.
Pierce, are you using Slim Jims to scratch your legs?
Have we not gotten to a place free of judgment yet?
As is standard for all the best episodes of Community, it can feel as tense and intricately structured as a film, while also being incredibly funny and above all else, truly heartfelt. Ultimately, the fact that they would rather believe a ghost stole a pen than believe they can't trust one of their friends is the distilled essence of everything that makes Community great. Number 2. Doctor Who. Midnight. Doctor Who is known for its impressive special effects and adventures through space and time. While the show spends a lot of time in the Doctor's TARDIS and other locations, it's still an ambitious show in the grand scheme of things. Midnight, meanwhile, shows that sometimes less can be so much more. Midnight follows the Doctor and a crew of space shuttle passengers as they embark on a leisurely trip. All seems to be going well until their craft becomes stranded on a planet with no atmosphere, which also happens to host a mysterious creature that's capable of possessing human beings. Midnight uses its single location setting to great effect, delivering an episode that's chock full of claustrophobic psychological horror. As the terror intensifies, the characters become more homicidally inclined and turn against each other. The results aren't pretty either, as human nature is exposed at its very worst. Most of the best horror stories are about how awful humans are, even when monsters are involved. Midnight exposes just how monstrous our own species truly is, and is certainly one of the more cynical episodes in the Doctor Who canon. Number 1. Friends. The one where no one's ready. Not only is this the creme de la creme of bottle episodes, it's also one of the most relatable, an ode to those annoying friends who take too long to get ready and are always holding us up, which is always frustrating when you're the only punctual person in the room.
All right, you will notice that I am fully dressed. I, in turn, have noticed that you are not. So, in the words of A.A. Milne, get out of my chair, dill hole.
The episode, which unfolds in real time, takes place in Monica and Rachel's apartment, and centres around the gang as they get ready for an engagement at Ross's museum. Ross is raring to go from the start, but he has to wait around while his friends bicker and go commando in each other's clothes.
Look at me! I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes? Maybe if I wasn't going commando.
That said, the episode was clearly inspired by Seinfeld's The Chinese Restaurant, which also revolves around frustrated characters whose evening doesn't go according to plan due to having to wait around. Both episodes also show that humour can be mined from the most basic premises. Still, the one where no one's ready is special because it encapsulates the pros and cons of friendship. The episode shows that no matter how annoying they can be at times, real friends are always worth waiting around for. If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a like and hit that bell icon. That really helps us out. If you're looking for more of this type of stuff, check out our Facebook and Twitter in the description below, and be sure to let us know some of your favourite bottle episodes in the comments. I've been Kieran with Council of Zoom, and we'll see you in the next video.